Hey, how are you? It's Tim Shurr here, President of Shurr Success Seminars. I'm so glad that you joined me and you're watching this video today. So it's been a good day. Are you having a good day? I hope you are. I'm having a good day. So it's been busy, it's been productive, and that's always good. We got to make the most out of our time, right? And that's one of the reasons why I decided to shoot this video today on finding your passion, because it can feel like we're running out of time. It can feel like we're doing so many things and we're not making progress, or maybe you feel like you're not getting anything done because you don't know what to do with yourself. Or maybe one area of your life is okay, but the other areas of your life aren't very satisfying. So I thought what we could do is just take a few minutes to stop, think, and plan it out, right? It's important to actually just take a few minutes to slow down and activate your imagination and see what you can come up with for how to live your life with more passion and more joy, so that you feel happier and you feel like you're making a bigger difference and you're getting more out of the time that you have. So I've got this 5-step process that I'm going to take you through that has helped a lot of my clients to be able to figure out what they're really passionate about. So step 1 is, what's your story, right? What do you know the most about? What are the things that you have been through that can help you to figure out what matters most to you? Okay, so for me, I know that I know a lot about anxiety. And so I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear growing up. And so, I spent my whole life trying to figure out, how do you overcome fear? How do you feel safe and secure inside? And that became a passion of mine. I wanted to learn every tool that was out there, anybody that was going to show you how to overcome fear and feel secure inside and have more peace in your life, or how to believe in yourself enough to be able to go after those big goals and those big dreams. Like, I wanted to be in business for myself. I wanted to be my own boss because I'm not good at having one. And so I needed to become my own my own boss. And that meant I had to create my own practice. I had to create my own business. Well, how do you do that? And there's all kinds of fear and worry that comes along with being your own boss or being an entrepreneur or trying anything new. You've got to have some courage. And so that was a passion of mine. I knew my story was I had a lot of fear and a lot of worry growing up, and I wanted to use my life to overcome that. And then it evolved into helping other people to overcome their fears and their self-limitations, so that they believed in themselves and they believed in their dream. And so that's what I do now. And so I think about all the different things that I've done, whether the books that I've read, the audio programs I've listened to, the seminars that I've gone to, the people that I've met, even to right now doing Facebook Live videos, right? It's all part of my story. So what's part of your story? What do you know about? What have you been through? What is something that gives you meaning in your life? So I know friends of mine that some of them are journalists, and they love to learn about how to interview people, or how to write, or how to make videos, or how to help other people to learn how to do those things. I have other friends that are jiu-jitsu instructors, right? And so they have their story of what brought them into martial arts, and they dedicated them lives to improving their skills as a martial artist, as an athlete, and then also teaching other people how to build self-confidence through self-reliance, through being able to protect yourself. So what is it, again, that is your story? Okay? What do you know about? What are the things that you've been through? Because sometimes people say, I don't know anything, but that's false, because you've been through experiences. You have those experiences. Sometimes people decide that, this is what I've been through, and I want to make sure that I never have to go through that again. And so that becomes their drive. What can I do to move from that old environment to a new one? Or maybe their drive is, I've been through this and I don't want anybody else to have to go through this, so this is going to be my purpose. And it doesn't just have to be about growing a business. You might decide that, I feel like I have no musical talent at all, so one of my passions is to learn how to play an instrument. And I had that. Behind every time we procrastinate on something, there's usually some fear behind that procrastination. And my fear was that I had no musical talent whatsoever. And one day, I always told myself, I have no musical talent. And one day I just kind of stopped and thought, why do I keep telling myself that? I never took lessons. I wasn't in band in school. So where did I get the idea that I had no inclination for being able to play music? And then I just had this idea pop in my mind. Well, I sat in front of a piano one time and banged down the keys and it sounded horrible. And I thought, well, if that is my basis for not having musical talent, that I sat down and I couldn't play something my first try out, that's nonsense. And you'll find that a lot of the beliefs that hold us back really are nonsense once you actually say it out loud, once you actually look at it in a different way. You'll be like, I can't believe I was thinking that. And so I decided I'm going to learn how to play something. So I bought a harmonica and I watched some lessons on YouTube, and now I can play a song, right? Or I can play a couple riffs and sound like I'm part of the Blues Brothers. So am I an expert at it? No, but now I believe that I have musical talent because I can play some on the harmonica, right? And if I wanted to learn how to play something else, I could decide to make that my passion, and then I start practicing it and putting energy into it, and eventually I would get better at it. So think about when in step one in finding your passion, think about what your story is. What do you know? What have you been through? What do you want your life to be about? And maybe you just want to do the opposite of how your life has been. So if you think I've been through a lot of pain, well, what's the opposite of pain? Well, I'd want more pleasure. Well, what would you like that you felt you didn't get before? Maybe you want more love or more connection. The fastest way to get more love and connection is to give it. Right? Givers gain. So the more you want something, give it, because whatever you put out there, it does come back. Maybe not from the person you're giving it to directly, but it will come back in other ways. And so write down what your story is all about and what you know, and then let that be step one. Step two, if you could spend your life doing anything you wanted, I mean anything at all, what would you do? You know, if I handed you $1 million, what would you do with it? Think about that. A lot of times people say they want more money, but they don't really know what they would do with their money. They think, oh, I would just go on a vacation, or I would quit my job. Okay, great, but then what happens when you get off of vacation? Or where would you go on vacation? And what would you do on vacation? Or they'd say, well, I'd give it to my church. Great, you give it to your church, and then what? And then you just cut them a check and you're done? Right? Or do you take that money and use it so that you can see the good works that it's doing? Or maybe you fly somewhere and you go to, like my friend Paula, you know, I gave her money and she's raising money to go to Haiti and build wells so that they have access to water, the people there, instead of, you know, waiting hours and hours and hours in line for water that's not really good for them or purified anyway. So what would you do with it? And a lot of times people think they have to have a lot of money to do things, but you don't. You can do a lot of amazing things on a very low budget. The challenge that we have is that we don't stop and think long enough about what it is that we really do want, or we let our fears get in the way. So step two is to start dreaming. Okay? Not only do you know what you've been through, but what would you like to experience if you could do anything? And step three is to stop being practical in step two. Okay? Because when people say I need to be practical, what they're really saying is I'm afraid, so I need to set my goals low enough so I know I can hit them. Well, you are much more powerful than that. You have so much more to you that you even realize. That's why we set goals, so that you can become the person that you were born to be, so that you can reach a truer level of potential. But you won't ever know what you could do if you don't have some scenario that challenges you, right? So that's why we set goals. It's not just to achieve them, it's because going after those goals and attaining those goals transforms you into someone who is smarter, wiser, more resourceful, more empowered, more passionate, more grateful, or whatever else it might be for you. So stop being practical and start thinking about, if you could do anything, what would it be? So it reminds me of a story. I think I read it from a book on finding your passion from, her name was Barbara Shurr. And I thought, well, she's got to be cool because her last name sounds like mine. And I think it's spelled S-H-E-R. But she wrote a great book on how to find your passion. And she tells this story. So I'm just going to tell it to you. So this woman comes in to the office and says, hey, I don't know what to do with myself, and I'm just lost, and I'm unhappy, and I'm unsatisfied, and I feel like I had opportunities when I was younger, and I let them slip by, and all I do is kick myself. All I do is torture myself. I wish I had a time machine. I wish I could go back, and I can't, and it makes me depressed every day. And so we say, all right, well, here's what we could do. Let's focus not on the shame or the guilt of lost opportunities, because you don't really know how that would have panned out anyway. The grass always seems greener on the other side, but often it's because there's more manure over there. So instead, let's focus on what we could do moving forward right now. And so what could we do? What is it that you like? And we take her through the steps, right? So if she was my client, we would take her through the steps. And I'd say, all right, what do you know? And what would you do if you got rid of being practical and you could do anything? And she said that what she would do was work with monkeys and gorillas. She loves them. She always has. Since she was a little girl, she had her room decorated with monkeys and kind of like a jungle when she was growing up, and she loved it. But she said, you know, I'm in my 50s now. I'm not going to be, you know, doing this. I'm not going to go back to school. It's too long of a journey. You know, I'm not Jane Goodall, although I would love to meet her. And so I feel like that's just one of those opportunities that has passed me by. And so we start challenging. If you had some belief that your time has passed you by, let's challenge that. What if it hasn't? What if there's still opportunities? We just have to find them in a different way. And so we got rid of the idea. Barbara tells a story where she helped this client get rid of the idea, the fear that that her dream was out of reach. And she says, where could you go find some monkeys or some gorillas to hang out with? And the woman said, I don't even know, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like go buy one or something? See, she was so focused on what she didn't have and what she lost that her mind wasn't thinking about what could be or what was possible. It was only focused on what wasn't and what didn't happen. So asking yourself these questions allows you to redirect your focus and attention. Your answers are always available. It's asking the right question. So she said, no, where could you go right now if you had to find a monkey or a gorilla? And the woman stopped thinking about what she didn't want, and for that moment she started focusing on what she did want. And she said, well, I guess I could go to the zoo. Ah, that's a great idea. Why don't you start going to the zoo and just hang out with the monkeys and hang out with the gorillas? Now, as soon as you get an idea that is really going to work for you, that actually is pretty practical, the first thing that we tend to experience as human beings is resistance. All of a sudden, we feel tight inside. All of a sudden, we'll feel flushed. All of a sudden, we'll feel like this wall of resistance comes up inside of us, and we start coming up for reasons why we shouldn't. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been to the zoo in a while, and I don't know how that's really going to help me find my passion anyway. It feels like I'm just going to be wasting time, you know, if I'm hanging out at the zoo. So again, we have resistance. But Barbara challenged her anyway and said, you know what? You got to do this. You just got to go to the zoo and hang out with the gorillas and the monkeys and have fun. And so the woman said, all right. So she comes back a couple weeks later, and she gives her report. She says, you're never going to believe what happens, which those of you who know me know that I love when people say that. You're never going to believe this, okay? She says, so I went to the zoo, and I brought my sketch pad, and I sat down next to the gorilla exhibit, and I just started watching them. And it really helped me to rediscover my love of these animals. I was mesmerized. In fact, I was there all day long. I just sat there. And I was drawing little sketches and hanging out, and then I'd go get a snack, and then I'd come back, and I was talking to them. And then it was so fun, I went back the next day too. And then I bought an annual pass, and I went every day that week. And I sat outside, and I would talk to the gorillas, and sometimes they'd look over at me, sometimes not. But, you know, they started to, I feel like we had a connection because some of them, like, would recognize when I come back. You know, they would look over at me and they would make eye contact with me, and I just felt like we had this connection. And I had the best week that I have had in a long, long time. It was so much fun. And she says, but that's not even the most amazing part. She said, on the last day that I was there, I was packing up my stuff to go home, and a woman walked up to me, and it was obvious she worked at the zoo, and she says, hey, I noticed you're coming here a lot. Seems like you really love the gorillas. And she said, yes, I love them. I always wanted to do something when I was little, and time got away from me, and you know, I feel like my time has kind of passed. But, you know, this week I just decided I was going to hang around with these beautiful animals anyway, and it's been a lot of fun. And the zookeeper, she says, well, I don't know if you'd be interested or not, but I'm in charge of this exhibit, and I was wondering if you might like to volunteer with me and come back sometime, and who could help me feed them, and I can show you what we're doing around here. And the woman's, she got teary-eyed and her mouth dropped, and she's like, what? Really? I could do that? And like I'm getting all emotional thinking about it. And she said, yeah, why don't you? And so now she's been volunteering and working with the gorilla exhibit and feeding the animals and doing things to help take care of them, and she's behind the scenes, and she feels like she has a deeper connection, and now she is living her passion of working with gorillas in her own hometown. Who would have thought? Certainly, she would not have thought that. And if you would have just thrown out the idea, why don't you go and volunteer to work with the gorillas? She would have thought that was absolutely ridiculous. But because she opened herself up to the possibility and she just took one step at a time, she discovered these opportunities. And I believe that because she kept showing up, see, one of the keys to success is consistency. Consistency. We have to make sure that whatever we're doing, we do it regularly and consistently. If you do it once here and you do it once there, you never build up momentum. It's like trying to hit oil, and all you do is dig 1 foot holes, and then nope, no oil there, and you go to the next one, 1 foot down. Nope, no oil there, and then the next one. Nope, no oil there. By the end of the day, you're exhausted and dirty, and you got a whole yard full of 1 foot holes, but you never hit oil. Instead, with consistency, you go to the same hole, and you dig and you dig down and dig down and drill down and drill down, and you drill all the way down until you hit oil. Okay? So that's what we have to do. We have to be consistent. Because she kept consistently going to the zoo, she stood out for the zookeeper, who then showed up and made one of her dreams come true. So that is step number 3. Okay? And so we have to make sure that we figure out what is our story. Then we figure out, really, what do you know? And then, what do you want your life to be about? If you could do anything at all, I mean anything at all, without anything holding you back, what would you do? And then the third thing, get rid of the word practical, right? Just toss it out and be a dreamer. Start dreaming. And then 4, I want you to think about taking on the role of a product engineer. And this step is really clever. I heard this from a couple of guys out in San Francisco, and I thought it was really, really great. They said what you do if you're trying to figure out your passion is you figure out what you would do if you were a project engineer. So let's just say your job is to make a new product, a new gadget, whatever it is, a new gizmo, okay? But you don't really know what people want, and you're not quite sure what's going to sell in the marketplace. So what you do is you come up with 3 different designs, and you put a couple ideas together for what you might do, going down this path with this design, going down this path with this design, and going down this path with this design. Okay? So you come up with 3 totally different approaches of what you might do with this product, and then you decide, all right, I'm going to start going down this path, take a couple steps down this path, discover what I learned. Is it going well? Is this something I'm enjoying? Am I getting good feedback? Am I not getting feedback? And then you do the same thing with the other paths as well. Now, when you do this, a couple of things are going to happen. 1, you're going to start to notice what you really enjoy doing because you're actually doing it. The biggest mistake people make is they judge the meal before they ever tasted a bite. They judge the meal before they ever take a bite. Okay? So what I mean by that is people will look at something and judge it before they even find out if it's something that works for them. Don't judge a book by the cover. But we do. We instinctively. Sometimes it happens without us even knowing it's going to happen. We will judge people, situations, different scenarios, and often talk ourselves right out of it before we ever get the chance to find out what it would have been like. So instead, get in there and go down a couple steps on each one of these paths and see what you like the most. When I'm working with kids and they're going through high school or they're going through college and they're thinking about maybe what they want to do for a living, I always say, go volunteer somewhere. Go be an intern somewhere. Go hang out with somebody that's already doing that particular job, and go hang out with them and see if it's something that you want to spend the next 4 years going towards. Right? The worst thing you can do is spend 4 or 6 or 8 years going to school to discover that you don't want to do that once you get out of school. So go intern. You don't even have to have the degrees or the experience. Go volunteer. Go find these people and ask them if you could ask them a few questions or interview them. And some might say no or might be too busy, but others will say yes, or they will make time for you. I'm busy and I make time for people. I've had high schoolers call me up and ask me questions, and I make time for them. So you want to make sure that you're not kind of shooting it down before you've even tried it. Okay, so I always tell my kids, you got to try this food, whatever we're eating, you got to try it. You can spit it back out if you don't like it, but you got to try it. And I got them into the habit where at least they try it. They might spit it out, but at least they tried it. And a lot of times they'll try things and discover that they really like it, and they didn't even know it. So we want to make sure in step 4 that you create 3 different scenarios for where you might take your life. 3 different things, 3 different paths that you could go down that you might enjoy. And part of it is just fun. It's almost like you're being 3 different characters in your own movie. You could take on the role of this character, you could take on the role of this one. So you could be real practical, or you could be totally free-spirited, out of control, or you could be, someone who's a combination of both. And you could just play around with it. Let different parts of your personality come out. And then once you've established, maybe I'm going to learn a little bit about music, or maybe I'm going to learn a little bit about art, or maybe I'm going to learn a little bit more about food or fitness or adventure or travel or medicine, or it could be anything. Okay? And then once you establish those 3 scenarios, then think, all right, what would be the first couple steps that I could take to move down this path? What are just the first 2 or 3 steps I could take to go down that path, and down this one, and down this one? Okay? Then what you do is you just start taking that first couple steps. Just do one at a time. Go a couple steps down, see what you think. Then come to this one, do 2 or 3 steps, see how it feels, see what you think. Go over here, couple more, see what you think. Okay? Nice and easy. But what will happen is something magical. One, you're starting to really uncover what it is that you really do like and what it is that you don't. You'll also notice that other opportunities begin to present themselves that you would have never been able to access without going through these adventures, without going through these steps, right? You can't go through the new door until the old door closes, as they say. So you got to make sure that you take these action steps. And if you have 3 options and you're taking action, what might happen is you discover option number 4. Option number 4. And you had never considered an option number 4. It kind of found you. It revealed itself because of the action that you took in the other directions. So if there's a step 5 of this process, step 5 is you got to take action, right? Take action, get feedback, and then keep moving forward. And so there's 5 steps here, okay? So let's go through them again. 1, what is your story? What is something that you know that you want more of or you want to get away from? What is it all about? 2, if you could have anything, what would it be? Where would you go? Who would you hang out with? What would you do? 3, get rid of the word practical and start dreaming. Dream big without shooting yourself in the foot. Say, if it were possible, what would I do? What could I do? Who would I hang out with? Number 4, you can start to create these different paths, these 3 different paths of where you might go down and what the steps are that would go down, that you would need to take to get down those paths. And then get that feedback, and then step 5 is to take that action, right? Take action and do all of these things. It should really be take action is in every one of these steps. Okay? So it's more of a 4-step process for finding your passion, and with the same catalyst every time, which is do it, do it, do it, do it, because these steps won't work, they won't do anything if you don't actually take time to do it. So make sure that you're telling yourself the three most powerful words that will ever get you motivated. Do it now, do it now, do it now, right? Do it now, do it now, do it now. And when you start to make these steps happen, then you're going to find all kinds of discoveries, all kinds of insights, all kinds of things that make you get curious and excited and hopefully passionate. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, then let me know. I am going to be making some brain training sessions. I will get you the links as soon as I get a chance to make them and put them online, so that I will literally train you on how to discover your passion using the power of your subconscious. So look for that coming soon. If you want some more tips on how to be the best you can be, then check out my 4 Pillars of Success videos. You can find them at overcomeselfsabotagenow.com. That's overcomeselfsabotagenow.com. And there'll be 4 videos where I will take you through some different strategies for how to train your brain for success. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this. Now start with number 1, know who you are, know what your story is, and then get into the dreaming. And I can't wait to hear your stories. I can't wait for you to comment or give me a call or send me an email or come to one of my live events and say, Tim, you're never going to believe what just happened. Thanks so much, and make today a sure success. See you soon.